Hello, Rodney.
Hey.
We've talked previously about our holiday time and then coming back to Jerusalem. And I know you had some nice holiday and were able to go to Italy. And while we all try and switch off and not think too much about the situation we're facing here, I know you went to visit a museum there and found something and explored something of great significance to St. George's College. And I'd love for you to share about that.
Yeah, it's the origins or the inspiration of our logo. So if we, just look at the St. George's College logo, which we now see, it's on our gate, it's on our door. We have the tiles with us. We have some shirts. I saw an embroidered a pillow just now. And this logo was put together by a former dean, John Wilkinson. But I think some of the memory or understanding of this has been lost. Now, what this is the image of the tomb of Christ, like in the year 300, 400, 500. So we could have different names for the tomb of Christ or the edicule or kind of the little house. And without going into much detail, but this would be the type of stuff we go over in the course, when they discovered what they identified as the tomb of Christ, it was a slight hillside slope, and they carved it around, leaving just enough of that shell of the living rock to give it integrity. And then they kind of clad it with marble, made it into a little house chapel. So that's why it's called a little house, or the edicule. It could also just be called the tomb of Christ. So again, from the 4th century onwards, the tomb of Christ was both living rock inside, but then the little chapel there. And the reason we know what it looks like is because there are these pilgrimage flasks or ampulla that were made by artisans, by artists here in Jerusalem. They were 5 to 7 centimeters, 2 to 2.5 inches wide, that could take souvenir oil inside to take home. So maybe the oil had been burning in a lamp at a holy site, just like our pilgrims take water from the Jordan River home. Mm-hmm. So a big tradition then, and perhaps still with Orthodox pilgrims, is take oil. Well, the way they took it home were these little ampulla or little flasks. And most of them around the world we can find, or that we find will be made out of ceramic pottery. But there was a absolute beautiful set or collection of these that were made out of metal, out of tin, lead, and silver, and an image of a scene of salvation was put on it. Let me say that better. So not only was it just a flask, but there was an image of the resurrection, or there's an image of the ascension, or the image of the crucifixion. And so let's take the resurrection, the women at the tomb, the angel, and of course we need the tomb of Christ there, but instead of the artist imagining what it looked like from John 19 or from the Bible, they put an image of the shrine in the church at the time. So we're going to have an image of this in the video from photos I took. And in the bottom of one of these, it happens to be ampulla 9, there's one specific ampulla that John Wilkinson took because he studied these. The best collections are in this town called Monza. It's about 6 miles north of Milan. There's also some in another town called Bobbio. But Monza was the central base of the Lombards, who ruled northern Italy in the late 500s, the early 600s. There was a queen who was actually from Bavaria called Theodelinda, who married in and ended up becoming the queen. And it was her, she was gifted these, this marvelous set of ampulla. There's a dozen or more of them, and they're in the museum there at the Cathedral of Monza that you can see today. So what I've known about that for a long time. I've actually been to the museum before when I wasn't working for St. George's. I've seen them. They're kind of part of my own studies. But so this summer was the first time I went to the very same museum, specifically looking for the St. George ampulla. As soon as I walked right into the museum, there's the case. Took me a while. but found one that's based upon, or what our logo is based upon, and it was nice. I sent a photo on our staff WhatsApp, and within 5 seconds, 10 seconds, our business manager Ron has said, that's our college logo. And so why I like that logo is because it does blend, if you remember the way I described the cutting away of the tomb, which is kind of the solid rock of the first century tomb of Christ, but then it's been kind of embellished with the marble. We might kind of laugh at that a little bit, but it combines both biblical studies, biblical realities, biblical narratives with the Pilgrim tradition. And I think why I love the logo, which has been around for a few decades, is because it blends together our ethos of who we are, of being people walking in the footsteps of Jesus, renewing or challenging or learning our own biblical faith, learning the narratives, encountering the Bible, and yet doing it with some tradition, doing it in the footsteps of other people, realizing that we are part of a global Christian movement, and knowing that when we go to the landscapes, to the churches, even to the shrines, that we do this not just a connection between us and God, but something that's much more rich and all. So yes, no, absolutely. You might see sense my excitement. It was excited, kind of on behalf of the college, but me very personally, to go into the museum and see where our logo comes from.
Well, that's great, and it's such a good story and a beautiful image. And many of the people watching this will have their own tile with the year or the years when they have visited, and perhaps it's an encouragement to go back to that tile, take another look at this beautiful image, which we only have this one source of what it looked like.
Yes.
And a symbol that has become identifiably St. George's College.
Yeah, so it's the museum in Monza, and it's the diocese museum, and it's really well worth it. So if anybody finds themselves in northern Italy, especially with connections to the college, I would recommend them go.
Very good. Thank you for taking us there, Rodney.